So now we know that Vedic religion, if we can use that word, which is not a correct word, but as a shorthand, it was concerned with sacrificial fires, yagyas, that you create yagyas, in small sheds, and you have these yagyas for so many things. You can have yagyas, and there are so many yagyas which are mentioned. So there is no reference to image worship in the Vedic yagyas. It is yagyas that you perform. But according to scholars, this is not something that I'm saying. It is very reputed and renowned scholars. I'm giving the name, for example, of Anand Kumaraswamy. Kumaraswamy was an outstanding expert on Indian art and Indian religion. So people like Anand Kumaraswamy, they say that when this Vedic religion came into contact with the beliefs of the wider section of the populace, then it gradually embraced that, and the yagyas receded into the background. So the popular faith of the people was worshipping some form. So in the beginning, we do not find images. We find the deities represented by their symbols. Like Buddha is never represented as Buddha. He is represented by his chin or his throne, or when he is renouncing the world, or when he has attained enlightenment. Now, it is very interesting that this tradition of image worship begins in the region of present-day Mathura around the same time for what we know today as Jains, Buddhists, and Hindus. These are modern terminologies which I'm using as a shorthand. So the tradition of image worship develops simultaneously in Mathura among these sampradayas, faiths, paths, whatever you want to call them. And more interesting, that the same set of artisans, or craftsmen, they made the images for Buddha, for Buddhists, Jains, and Hindus, what we call Hindus today. So there were colonies of artisans or artists, or whatever you want to call them, and their services were available to everyone who wanted to avail of them. So the tradition began in the Mathura region around the same time by artisans who were rendering their service to all. In the beginning, the deity was not represented as a human being, only the chins were represented. I've given you the example of Buddha. In the Jains, you had these small tablets, ayag patta. So, they were just sacred symbols were inscribed on them. And even for Vishnu, for example, he's represented by Vishnu Pad. And the symbols were so common to them. Everyone had swastik as a symbol. Everyone had chakra as the symbol. Everyone had people tree. So the symbols, sacred symbols, were also conch, shankh. So these were also very common. And from there, and in the beginning, we think today that stupas were only built by the Buddhists. No, a Jain stup was also found in Mathura. And the British archaeologists excavated Mathura. They found the Jain stup over there, and they say that it was almost coterminous with the Buddhist stups. And just to give you an anecdotal example, the great Kushan ruler Kanishk, we've all heard of him. He was a devout Buddhist. And according to one story, once, because Jains were also building stupas and so were Buddhists. So according to one story, Kanishk by mistake once went to a Jain stup and started worshipping over there, thinking it was a Buddhist stup. So only when he realized that, I've entered the wrong stup. So this, what I'm just saying, the symbols were shared. This story and that diet that we've been brought up on, that religions were always in conflict with each other, fighting each other, that is not borne out by the actual facts on the ground.